Okay. All right, get away from those alarms. Good! Now get in the center. He moves, take his head off. Put the gun on him. Get out of the center.
You ever watch a movie and think, wait, this actually happened? That's Dog Day Afternoon. A guy robs a bank to pay for his partner's surgery and things spiral into total chaos, with Al Pacino right in the middle of it. It's wild, it's intense, and yeah, it's based on a true story. But there's a whole other side to this film most people never hear about. Let's break down 20 weird facts about Dog Day Afternoon you probably didn't know. Number 1. The real robbery happened just 3 years earlier.
One of the strangest hijack attempts to date began yesterday when two gunmen held up a bank.
So get this. The real bank robbery that Dog Day Afternoon is based on? It happened in 1972, just 3 years before the movie came out. A guy named John Wojtowicz walked into a Brooklyn bank with two buddies, planning to steal enough cash to pay for his partner's gender-affirming surgery. Yeah, it really happened. But things fell apart fast. One of the guys bailed, the cops showed up almost instantly, and suddenly there were reporters and crowds everywhere. It turned into a media circus, live, right on the street. Wojtowicz actually saw the movie later and said parts of it were spot on, but a lot was made up. Still, his wild day inspired one of the most unforgettable crime films ever. Number 2. Al Pacino looked a lot like the real guy. When you see Al Pacino play Sonny in the movie, you might think he's just doing his usual intense thing. But here's the funny part. The real guy, John Wojtowicz, thought Pacino actually looked a lot like him. In fact, Wojtowicz was thrilled with the casting. He even said Pacino got his mannerisms and attitude pretty spot on. He called the performance brilliant and said he couldn't imagine anyone else playing the role. That's a pretty big compliment coming from the guy who actually lived through it. It's not every day your life is turned into a movie, and even rarer that a Hollywood legend like Pacino ends up playing you. Whether or not you agree they looked alike, Wojtowicz sure saw himself on screen. Number 3. Sal was supposed to be 18 years old. Here's something that might surprise you. The character of Sal, Sonny's partner in the robbery, was originally written to be just 18 years old. In real life, Salvatore Natriel was a nervous young guy barely out of his teens. But when it came time to cast the role, Al Pacino pushed hard for his friend John Cazale to play Sal, even though Cazale was in his late 30s. Director Sidney Lumet wasn't sure at first, but Pacino convinced him that Cazale could bring something special to the part. And he was right. Cazale's quiet, twitchy performance added a whole new layer to the movie. He made Sal feel dangerous but also weirdly innocent, which made the ending hit even harder. Sometimes the best casting choices aren't the obvious ones. Number 4. There's almost no music in the whole movie. Ever notice how quiet Dog Day Afternoon feels? That's on purpose. Director Sidney Lumet made a bold choice. He didn't use a traditional movie soundtrack. No dramatic music, no suspenseful buildup, just the sounds of the street, the bank, and people shouting. The only real music you hear is Elton John's Amarina during the opening scene. After that, it's all real-life noise. Lumet felt that music would make the film feel fake. He wanted the story to play out like it was happening right in front of you, raw and real. And honestly, it works. The silence makes the tension feel heavier. Every word, every shout, every moment feels more intense because there's nothing covering it up. Sometimes less really is more, especially when you're telling a story this wild. Number 5. Pacino shaved his mustache, and they had to reshoot everything. On the first day of filming, Al Pacino showed up with a mustache. They went ahead and shot a full day of scenes with it. But when director Sidney Lumet watched the footage, he felt it just didn't work. It made Pacino's character feel less believable, too polished maybe. So Pacino shaved it off. Problem was, they now had a bunch of footage that didn't match the rest of the movie. Lumet made the call, reshoot the entire day. That meant lost time, lost money, and a whole crew doing everything over again. But it also shows how much detail mattered. Even something as small as a mustache could throw off the tone. In the end, it was the right move. Without the mustache, Sonny looked more raw, more desperate, just like the real guy. Number 6. Most of the dialogue was loosely scripted. You'd think a tense movie like Dog Day Afternoon would have every word carefully planned, but surprisingly, a lot of the dialogue was improvised. Director Sidney Lumet encouraged the actors to go off script, especially in the crowd scenes and intense conversation. This was a big deal. Lumet was known for tight, controlled storytelling, but for this film, he wanted it to feel messy and real. like people actually arguing and panicking in the moment. Al Pacino, John Cazale, and the rest of the cast were given space to react naturally. One of the most famous lines, Attica, Attica, was totally improvised by Pacino on the spot, and it became iconic. That raw, unscripted energy is a big reason why the film still hits so hard today. It doesn't feel like acting. It feels like real life. Number 7. Pacino barely slept during filming. Al Pacino wanted his performance as Sonny to feel as real and intense as possible, so he basically lived like the character during filming. He reportedly got just a few hours of sleep each night, ate very little, and even took cold showers to keep himself in a stressed-out, on-edge state. The idea was to show Sonny slowly unraveling as the robbery drags on, and Pacino wanted that exhaustion to show up naturally on his face and in his body. No faking it. It might sound extreme, but it worked. You can see the tiredness in his eyes, the tension in every move he makes. It's one of the reasons his performance is so powerful. Pacino didn't just play Sonny, he became him. And yeah, it took a real toll on him. Number 8. The phone call scenes were shot without breaks.
Thanks a lot, and bon voyage. Yeah, right. See you sometime.
Some of the most emotional scenes in Dog Day Afternoon happen over the phone, especially the calls between Sonny and his partner Leon. These aren't short scenes either, they go on for several minutes and carry a lot of weight. Director Sidney Lumet made the bold choice to shoot those scenes in real time, without breaking them up. The actors performed the entire call straight through, like they were on a stage. No cuts, no pickups, just pure emotion. It gave the actors a chance to fully live in the moment, and it really shows. Pacino is raw, vulnerable, and exhausted by the end of each call. It's one of the most human parts of the film, and shooting it this way helped make it feel completely real. Number 9. They shot the whole thing on a real Brooklyn street. Most movies would have built a fake bank on a soundstage, not Dog Day Afternoon. Director Sidney Lumet wanted the film to feel as real as possible, so he shot the entire thing on location, right on a real street in Brooklyn. They used an actual bank building, and everything outside, the crowds, the police, the chaos, was filmed right there on the block. It wasn't just for looks. Lumet thought shooting on location would help the actors stay in character and bring more energy to their performances. It also made things tricky. Locals were everywhere, traffic had to be blocked off, and they had to shoot around real-life distractions. But the payoff? A movie that feels alive, like you're standing right there watching it all unfold. Number 10. They had to fake the heat. The movie makes it feel like it's the hottest day of the year, sweaty, sticky, and boiling. But in reality, it was actually shot during cool fall weather in New York. Some days were even cold enough for the actors' breath to show on camera, which would have totally ruined the summer vibe. So how did they fix it? The actors had to hold ice chips in their mouths between takes to cool their breath. That way, when they spoke, you wouldn't see the little puffs of condensation. It's a weird little trick, but it worked. You never once doubt that it's the middle of a hot, miserable summer day. Just one more example of how the crew went the extra mile to make everything feel real, even if it meant freezing for a hot day look. Number 11. Penelope Allen as Sylvia, the teller who stole attention.
You gonna smoke the cigarette or what?
Yes. If I die of cancer, it'll be half your fault.
Ever notice Sylvia, the head bank teller who refuses to stay quiet during the hostage scenes? That's Penelope Allen, and she made a real mark, even though she wasn't a household name. Allen played Sylvia Mouth, the shot caller among the hostages who commands respect from fellow employees and even negotiates with Sonny. It's a small role, but she owns it with confident presence. Funny thing is, Allen was already a seasoned stage actress and acting coach before this film. But Dog Day Afternoon remains her most famous screen role. It's wild. A single supporting role in a gritty 1975 classic made her stand out decades later. Every time Sylvia speaks up, you pause. She's the calm voice inside the madness, and she did it all in one movie. Number 12. They filmed almost everything in order. Most movies are shot out of order to save time or money, but Dog Day Afternoon did something different. They filmed the movie almost entirely in script order. That means Scene 1 was shot first, Scene 2 next, and so on. Why? Director Sidney Lumet wanted the actors, especially Al Pacino, to build their performances naturally. As the pressure on Sonny builds in the story, Pacino was actually getting more tired, more stressed, and more locked into the role. It wasn't just acting, it was real emotional exhaustion. Shooting in order also helped with the story's intensity. Every argument, every mistake, every shout felt like it was stacking on top of the last. It gave the film a sense of momentum you can feel. like the whole thing is slowly spinning out of control. Number 13. The real robber said the movie was only 30% accurate. Even though Dog Day Afternoon is based on a true story, the man who lived it, Jon Voitovich, claimed the movie only got about 30% of it right. After seeing the film, he pointed out all kinds of differences, from how the robbery went down to how his relationships were shown. For example, he said the movie changed his motivations, left out important people, and made parts of the story more dramatic than they really were. He didn't hate the film. In fact, he thought Al Pacino did a great job, but he felt Hollywood had twisted things for entertainment. It's a reminder that even true story movies take creative liberties. What's true on screen isn't always what actually happened, but it's still made for one unforgettable film.
Number 14. Voitovich was paid, but not what he expected.
You'd think having a movie made about your life would come with a big payday, right? Not exactly. Jon Voitovich sold the rights to his story for just $7,500 and a small share of the profits, 1% of the net. Problem was, net profits in Hollywood can be tricky. After all the accounting, it often looks like a movie didn't technically make money, even if it was a huge hit. So Voitovich ended up with way less than he thought he would. He did use some of the money to help pay for his partner's gender-affirming surgery, which was part of his original reason for robbing the bank. But overall, he didn't cash in. The movie made millions, and he got a few thousand. Not exactly the Hollywood dream. Number 15. Voitovich watched the movie in prison and caused a scene. After the robbery, Jon Voitovich was sent to prison, where he eventually got a chance to watch Dog Day Afternoon with other inmates. But when the prison said they might not show the film, Voitovich wasn't having it. He reportedly threatened to start a riot if they canceled the screening. They showed the movie. Watching your own life play out on screen is already intense, but watching it behind bars, surrounded by other prisoners, that's something else. Voitovich had mixed feelings about how he was portrayed, but he was still proud his story made it to the big screen. It also made him a bit of a legend in prison. The other inmates now knew he was the real guy behind the movie, and that only added to the chaos he'd already caused.
Number 16.
Sal was a real person, and he didn't survive. In the movie, Sal, played by John Cazale, is the quiet, tense partner in the robbery. What many people don't realize is that Sal was based on a real person, Salvatore Naturile, also known as Donald Matterson, and sadly, his story didn't have a happy ending. Just like in the film, Sal was only a teenager at the time of the robbery, 19 years old. He was nervous, unpredictable, and very much in over his head. When the standoff finally ended at the airport, the FBI opened fire and Sal was killed on the spot. Jon Voitovich later said Sal didn't even want to rob the bank in the first place, but got talked into it. His tragic end adds a whole new level of sadness to the movie, because in this case, the fiction wasn't far from the truth. Number 17. Pacino fought to cut a drag scene from the script. Early versions of the Dog Day Afternoon script included a scene where Leon, Sonny's partner, appears dressed as Marilyn Monroe in full drag. It was meant to show Leon's identity and add drama, but Al Pacino wasn't having it. Pacino thought the scene felt forced and disrespectful, especially since the real Leon, Elizabeth Eden, never dressed that way in real life. He believed the moment would turn Leon into a joke, when the character deserved to be treated with empathy and respect. Pacino pushed hard to have the scene removed, and director Sidney Lumet agreed. They cut it, and many people today say it was the right move. Instead of playing into stereotypes, the film treated Leon like a real person, with real struggles, which was rare for the time. Number 18. It reunited two Godfather legends. If you felt some familiar chemistry in Dog Day Afternoon, you're not imagining it. The film brought together Al Pacino and John Cazale, who had already starred together as brothers Michael and Fredo Corleone in The Godfather just a few years earlier. Their dynamic in Dog Day Afternoon is totally different. Here, they're partners in crime, not family. But the trust between them is obvious. Pacino actually recommended Cazale for the role of Sal, and pushed hard to get him cast. Director Sidney Lumet later said Cazale brought a haunting quietness to the film that made Sal feel more human and unpredictable. It was one of 5 incredible films Cazale made before his early death, and every one of them, including this one, has gone down in movie history.
Number 19. The crowd wasn't just extras, it was real people. In most movies, when you see a big crowd, it's usually a bunch of hired extras. But in Dog Day Afternoon, the crowd outside the bank was a mix of actors and real people from the neighborhood who just showed up to watch the filming. Word spread fast that a movie was being shot in Brooklyn, and with Al Pacino on set, people were curious. Locals leaned out of windows, gathered behind police barriers, and even shouted things during takes. Instead of fighting it, director Sidney Lumet worked the real reactions into the film. The result? The chaos outside the bank feels totally natural, because it kind of was. Those weren't just fake reactions. That buzz you feel during those scenes? That's real New York energy, caught live on camera. Number 20. A reporter actually called the bank during the robbery. Here's one of the wildest facts of all. A real reporter called the bank while the robbery was still happening, and Jon Voitovich answered the phone. That's right. During the actual standoff with hostages inside and cops everywhere, a local news station managed to get through. Voitovich spoke to the reporter like it was a normal interview, answering questions and explaining his reasons for robbing the bank. It was part of what turned the whole event into a full-blown media circus. This bizarre moment even made it into the movie, showing just how out of control the situation had become. It wasn't just a robbery anymore. It was live theater, with the whole city watching. And for a few hours, Jon Voitovich was the star of a show he never meant to create. Crazy how much was going on behind the scenes, right? Dog Day Afternoon isn't just based on a wild true story, it became one. From real phone calls to unscripted moments, this movie is full of surprises most people never hear about. If you liked learning these weird facts, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Got a favorite Pacino moment? Drop it in the comments below.